Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, would you look at that? There is definitely a simple solution to, well, there are two simple solutions to avoiding this sort of presentation for the people. One, regular visits to the hair and makeup team. Um, Two, let it all go gray. There are times, usually when I get like this much roots, that I think to myself, like, do I just leave it? Do we pull the color out? I don't know that I'm ready for that. I think that would be quite a jarring experience, and I don't know that I'm. I think, or it could be like one of those things where it's like we like pull all the color out, and oh, perf, we'll get to that in a second. We'll pull all the color out, and like maybe I'm like, at home, I'm like, oh yeah, that's all right, but then I'd be like going out or whatever, like it, or seeing somebody that knows, be like, oh, you look really old. And I mean, I can't do anything about it. I mean, I can do things about this, but uh, the not dying part, I can't really do it. Well, I mean, I could, but let's not. It's a little early to go this dark, I think. But yeah. Okay, so Cruella de Vil, Perf had this Cruella de Vil, so like go half gray. That could be interesting. Um, when I was probably 18. Yeah, I think I was probably about 18. I used to dye my hair half red and half black. Um, and I did that for about a year. And, I just kind of part it right down the middle and kind of pull it into pigtails on the side and dye one half red and one half black. And the red side, because like red is a tough color to keep in your hair. And especially if you're buying like the box stuff, it's not the best for you. The red side would always be more damaged than the black side. So like the red side would wind up getting a little shorter, and it was a thing. And then when I lived in Hollywood, there was I've never found it since, and that was 30 plus years ago. Wow. That I lived there, but there was this dye. I only knew it as Japanese powder dye, and I was referred to it by one of the guys I used to work with. Um, there was this. Those of you that watched Married with Children, do you remember there was one episode where Kelly was in a rock video, and like the band looked like LA Guns, um, and that band was called the Gutter Cats, and I worked with two of the guys in the Gutter Cats, Anthony and Johnny, the drummer and the guitar player, and they were from New York City, um, lived in LA. And what's interesting is that not interesting, but there was some documentary about the Sunset Strip, but it wasn't just like hair bands. It was also like Jane's Addiction, and kind of talked about like that scene that was at a club called Scream, which where Jane started, and it was really a lot of intermingling of stuff, and I was shocked as I was watching this because Johnny was in the video, and I always thought Johnny was cool. I don't think he liked me very much, and but I always thought he was cool, and I was really surprised to see him because I'm like I recognize him immediately. I'm like, oh wow, hey, you look great. Anyway, they Anthony, the drummer, nice guy. uh, he was also a hairdresser, or had been, in New York, and um, he recommended this stuff that was it was Japanese. It was just a powder, and you mix it with water, and it was great. And your hair was like jet black, and that stuff was fantastic. Worked great, and it didn't have any chemicals in it, or I don't know, whatever. You just mixed it with water, and it was great. So I never found it again, but I was kind of wondered what that was. Anyway, that is a fun excerpt from the book. Uh, I started writing a book. Probably, I was going to say 25 years ago, longer than that, almost 30 probably. And about my time when moving out there and it going terribly. And I think I had probably about 50 pages written. And like I still have it, and I know that in the last 15 years or so, I may have like looked at it again, and I'd be like, this is awful. So yeah, I should probably just delete that. Black, 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 black number one. You know, you got a point. You got a point. Got a point. Found out not long ago, Anthrax was on Married with Children once. Didn't watch the show all that much back in the day, so I never heard about it then. Yeah, that was. I don't know that I remember Anthrax being on there, but it doesn't sound super unfamiliar. Good morning, John. How are you? So, wait, what is it? You want to go out, but it's raining and blowing. You can't go out because your roots are showing. Dying black. Yeah. So, but take comfort in knowing that we'll be going to see the hair and makeup team. I think the 8th, something like that. Anyway, so that's good. Watched it all the time. Love the Anthrax episode. See, there we go. And that's all I got. I'll see you later. Nobody gave me any topics. I don't really have any topics. I sort of do. Some people don't, are maybe, when it comes to decision making, I don't have a problem making decisions. I often have a problem making the right decision, but I can make a decision. And sometimes when I make a decision, we wind up without a couch for 3 weeks, but I didn't know. So as you may be aware, this most recent round of conspiracy series guitars are pretty much done. Had the inspection, and like one of the things that I wanted to do. I think I'm shouting. One of the things that I wanted to do was like I wanted to go and visit the factory. And like, I know plenty of people that have. And I'm always been a little like, oh man, I want to go. And, okay, Costa, we'll get to this in a second. So I've wanted to go, but like, and I kind of thought in my head that like, well, I'll go next year, like when we do the next run. And we're not going to do the next run next year. The next run is coming up like really, really, really soon. But and so like the past couple of weeks, I've just been kind of like, anxious. I want to see the guitars, and I got some photos, but not a ton, and it's fine. And like, because like years ago, I had a different contact at the factory who's since moved on to other. He was in another country, so he used to send me like pictures from like the production floor. Like I've got this really great photo of I think it's an Alita being sprayed Pop Life Sparkle. And it's like you see the paint going on. Like it's a great picture. And I'm like, this is dope. And I used to like getting those pictures from him because I would also see like what other guitars are being made because it's fun, you know. I mean, it's cool to see your own stuff, but it's also really cool to see like, oh yeah, there's the EVA Sharks, or you know, there's the Schecters, and there's the Deans, and there's the PRS SEs while they were still making them, and stuff like that. So I don't get photos like that anymore. Now I get just like here is a picture of the guitar with in front of a white backdrop, and that's great too. But I like seeing just kind of like if I'm posting a picture of like a guitar in progress, maybe something just off the machine, or maybe and during any stage in that people we like to see that stuff. And so I was thinking, we're going through this, my inspector was there, and then like that's a new thing to have to do, and I just kind of thought, let's just go. Definitely not something, it's not simple to go, but I'm going. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little apprehensive to be on a really long flight, because the last really long flight that I was on really kicked off a whole lot of back problems that I'm still dealing with, but better. So, there's that, but like, I can't do anything about where it is, right? I mean, that is where it is. And if you want to go, you gotta, take a long flight. And I can't afford the fancy seats. But I'm going to go, and I'm looking forward to it. And it'll be cool because, I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to be at that factory for 2 days. So I imagine we'll have a bit of a tour, and then, I'll get to see the guitars there. And I think that's pretty cool. Also, there's a possibility that I'm going to meet with, some distributors that might be interested in helping break into the Asian sales market. So that would be great. So I'm looking forward to it. Going to go in a couple weeks, and it was all very much a whirlwind kind of thing. But yeah, I don't have a problem making decisions. I don't know if I always make the right one, but I think this is a good one. Let's see. John Costa asks, what is my favorite song / album? My favorite song in the world, my number one favorite song ever, is Seasons of Wither by Aerosmith. That is true. My second favorite song is No, je ne regrette rien, which means I have no regrets. And that's by Edith Piaf. That is my second favorite song in the world. And it's very much... it's kind of like the spirit to me of it is very much like the lyrics to Frank Sinatra's My Way, maybe without as much bravado as Frank Sinatra's My Way, which is nothing wrong with that, but like just basically like, I don't have any regrets. That's my second favorite song in the world. My third favorite song in the world, and here's where it kind of drops off, is Wild Side by Motley Crue. I think that's their best song. I know a lot of people really love Kickstart My Heart. That is one of my least favorite Motley Crue songs ever. I don't like that song. I like the middle like breakdown part, but like I don't like that song. And then if I had to put, the list further, that would take me some more time. But those are like my top 3 songs that are my favorites. There you go. who do I enjoy guitar wise outside of Prince? Lindsey Buckingham is one of my favorite guitar players. I like Lindsey's solo stuff a lot. I mean, obviously the Fleetwood Mac stuff is great, but the I really like his solo stuff. The stuff like that I like about it is like Lindsey's not afraid to get really weird, and a lot of times I don't think it works. But I also love the fearlessness to just let's just get weird. There's a live version of Holiday Road, at the end of the song where it's kind of, fading out, you hear the little dog barking in the back. There's this whole section in the back at the end of like the live version where he's like barking like a dog. And then he starts going bark like a dog, like in Stripes. And it's just, and then it kind of gets kicked up to like like he's barking and then he sounds very satisfied. And I'm like, okay, but, that notwithstanding, I am a very big fan of Lindsey Buckingham. Mrs. Sully and I got to see him live a few years ago, and it was kind of like our first. It was our first concert. Like, I think it was December of 2021. I think so. It was kind of like our first kind of like public outing with the people. But yeah, it was a great show, and we were like ninth row in the center. It was really really good. So Lindsey is one of my favorites. So let's break this down. So let's like in the hard rock metal genre, I'm gonna say obviously Randy. Ace was one of my favorite guitar players. I've said this before. Ace always jokes that. If I knew I was going to influence so many people, I would have practiced more. You still can. But like, there's some stuff on the early Kiss records, and even like some of the Fraley's Comet stuff. There's some really, some pretty solid solos. I wish that there's some pretty solid stuff. Like the solo in Making Love off Rock and Roll Over, where he's just like out of the gate just burning, and I always liked that one. The solo in Calling Dr. Love is great, I think. Strange Ways is a cool one. 100,000 Years is a weird one, and that is being from being someone that has history in the Kiss tribute band industry, as it were. That solo for 100,000 Years, that is one of those ones where I would just have to kind of just set my feet and we're just going to play. We're not going anywhere. Because that part where, how do we do it? Ooh. There we go. This is great, isn't it? And it repeats a couple times, and then we get the. Alright, this part's fine. Yeah, okay. And then we get to this string skipping thing. And then I go. And it just keeps going back and forth, and it's just weird. And I think, the end solo on Let Me Go Rock and Roll on Alive. Yes, says Emery. Yes. And I just love how that ends it. um, so 100,000 Years is weird. My favorite song, my favorite Ace solo to play is Firehouse. That solo is fun as hell. It's just, you get to do those little chink 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 bits that do the little harmonics. It's just fun. Firehouse is a blast to play, and I used to just love playing that song when we would do it. Okay, so we've got Ace and Randy. Jakey Lee, absolutely, like 1,000% is just great. I've seen Jake throughout the years. I never saw him with Ozzy, which is interesting. I saw him with Badlands. I saw him in the '90s with Mandy Lyon when it was called Wicked Alliance at Chicago at the Avalon Theater. Saw him with Red Dragon Cartel a few times. Been fortunate enough to meet him 3 times throughout my life, and he has never been anything but super, super, super nice to me. Jake is great. Love the Red Dragon Cartel stuff. I hope that he's got like another album in him, just because like Jake's great. Let's see. Joe Perry, from a like rock style kind of vibe, is always one of my favorites. Like his soloing, Joe's got a really strange sense of phrasing to me that it's always been kind of tough for me to pick up his solos. But like some of my other favorite guitar players, like Robert Smith from The Cure, all the stuff that the soundscapes that he creates, I think is just so good. Obviously Prince, is just unreal. Those are like the first that really kind of come to mind. Let's see. Speaking of decisions, I need to make a decision between another Sully guitar. Well, decisions are easy. It's making the right one that's tough. No, and I'm not. I'm absolutely not the go-to guitar guy. But I appreciate the sentiment. Good morning to you. Let's see. A perfect record. I think it's tough between Shout or Too Fast for Love. I love both of those records. I'd probably go back to Shout at the Devil maybe a little bit more, maybe. But I remember like the first band I was in, like we used to play Public Enemy #1. When I was in, I have some like rehearsal recordings from like we were getting ready for a show, and I had to have been about 16 maybe, and we're playing Public Enemy #1, and just it's the basement recording, and after between the songs you could hear me go, oh, we suck so bad, and like the banter between we finished this one song, and Derek, the other guitar player and singer, he's like, you don't have your reverb on. I'm like, what? He's like, you don't have your reverb on. And as he's telling me this, our drummer Eric, he goes, oh, that's the least of our problems. It's just like one of my favorite moments, and I'm really glad that I have that on tape. Yeah, but let's see. Good morning, Alice. Vivian, yeah, Vivian Campbell was great. I need a channel, like the English channel, or I'm just kidding. I don't have any, and I don't mean that dismissively. Like, I mean, Jimi Hendrix was great, but I never really delved into his catalog. No real reason other than like, like when you're kind of discovering music and you kind of, generally you kind of start with like maybe what you hear around the house, and maybe your dad or your mom or your older sister likes some cool stuff. But like, and it's okay, but then you find like your stuff. Although like now that I mention it, like my older sister, some of the stuff that she was listening to was also like became like my stuff. Um, Specifically the Go-Go's Beauty and the Beat album. Man, I remember listening to that and I just loved that record. It's one of my, that's Beauty and the Beat is absolutely one of my favorite records. Absolutely. Terry Kath from Chicago. Yeah, dude was great. Jake's left hand reach is incredible, especially considering he doesn't really have big hands. But yeah, Jake rules. An unrelenting fury. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's kind of. I don't know. That kind of fizzled out quick, didn't it? So let's see. What have we talked about so far? Going to Korea. That'll be good. I did get a message while I was yammering on that the most recent guitar that we dropped off to get plecked is available for pickup. So that's cool. Do you guys know what the pleck machine does? And like, I mean, it's not a quiz. I mean, I can tell you. If only I had a guitar to demonstrate. So a pleck kind of looks like this oldie-timey phone booth. Because, it's like this big, booth, and the guitar is loaded into the door, and it's strapped in, and you got to have your neck relief set at a certain level. You want it at 5 thousandths at the old 7th fret. And so under tension, there's a little metal kind of probe that just as I'm doing this, it does the same thing. It just kind of runs down the neck, and it's creating a scan of the topography. There's a word, of the fretboard, and it does that for each string. And so what it's doing is it's measuring your fret height, and I think it also kind of like touches off the strings first, like kind of like checks your string deflection. I think I haven't watched it work in a little while, so I could be a little off, but I don't think that I am. And then, so this is happening while the strings are on, and so it's doing the do 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 do, and it's taking this reading, and it compares its reading versus what it decides the optimal setting is. And when it comes to like neck relief, you've got, let's see, here's your knot, here's your, let's say we'll call this the end of the fretboard. We've got the string, let's just color frets, go like this, and this is not good for anyone. Like, you can't really say, okay, you can. So you see the string on the top, and you see, okay, so those little, what look like backslashes are supposed to, let's call them frets. And so you see I've got a little bit of a curve, and then it goes up, and then it tapers off over here, right? So that is, we've got your relief, goes from the 1st fret all the way to the 12th, and then from the 12th up is where the machine wants to do what's called fall away. And that means it usually starts around like the 17th or so ish. And yeah. And so like what that means is each fret as it goes up is tiny bit shorter than the one in front of it. Well, why do you want to have consistently lower frets? Don't you want to have all your frets at a specific level? In a playing situation, having a little bit of fall away gives you nice low action up here. And we like that. We like it low down here. We like it low up here. And so after it's done its scan and kind of does its calculations and basically says, here's what you've got and here's what I'm going to do to it. And so then the strings come off and then it starts the milling process. There's this cutter head that goes across each fret. And then the strings, basically they just kind of take the strings off and kind of hold it off to the side, and then it does its thing, and then get it back up to tension, and then it scans it again to see how it did. And sometimes you have to do it again. Why do you have to do it again? Because sometimes like your neck, you might get a little bit of deflection and things like that. So once it's got the leveling done, and it does it in a specific way, as I've kind of mentioned. You want your relief at like 5/1000ths at the 7th fret, and then you check your string height at the 12th fret, which is very different from how I always check them. We should check them at the 17th. Why? Because around the 17th, it takes all of your relief out of the way and you can set your string height. But that's what we used to do until I realized that it was smart to, why don't I set it up to like how the machine is making its calculations, right? Because then we'd be like in agreement with one another. And doing so has been a really good idea. So if your guitar has been plecked, at least if you have Sully that's been plecked, and that means anything made after March 2020, any custom made after March 2020, because the Conspiracy Series guitars don't get plecked unless their owner asks to have that done. And so then you get your relief at 5/1000ths, and then you check your string height here, and then that allows things to go nice and low. And that's the plaque. 100 internets for Michael Schenker. Yes. Ready for paint. We will be sending them for their Pinky Sparkles. Pinky Sparkles is my old stripper name. That we'll be getting those in the paint queue this coming week. Aaron has a flame maple neck and a flame maple fretboard, and I had been building up the coats of oil on the fretboard and wax to make that nice and pretty and shiny, and it is. But yeah, David was doing the finishing touches on the finishing sanding touches yesterday, and we will kind of get everything together and in the paint queue this coming week. So going along according to schedule. So that's good. One of the things that I learned Thursday, maybe, I'm getting all of the parts together for that batch. So when they get back from paint, we can assemble, and ship. I'm going to have to find another source for the Godot 510 2-point trims that we use for 622s, because my source, All Parts, is out of them and won't have them until October. So that means we'll just be paying retail for Godot 510s, which blows, but I'm not about to make someone wait for their guitar because of that. So that is the current run of 622s. So they will go off to paint and come back, and then we'll finish them, and we will get them in the hands of the nice, lovely people who ordered them. Let's see. Dave, I grew up in the 70s. My guys were Ace, Alex Lifeson, Schenker, Glenn Tipton. Can you tell the difference between like Glenn and KK? Like I never I like Judas Priest. I like Judas. I don't celebrate their catalog. There are songs here and there that I love. I love the Screamin' for Vengeance record, and Defenders of the Faith, and then like little bits here and there. Maybe I know like Glenn is doing like a solo in like a song that like there's a video, but if I didn't know the video, like I don't think I could say, oh, that's KK and that's Glenn. But yeah, Judas Priest, I do have a soft spot in my heart for them. Maybe I should see a doctor about that. I saw them in day after Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, last year, year before. Regardless, it was a fun show. It's good. I do love me some Devil's Child. And like Bloodstone, it's such a good riff. Anyway, yeah, that's that. This is really fun. I don't know. Is this fun? I imagine this is. I'm just yammering and being boring. Tasteful and technical. KK is more angular and squealy. Okay. So like, in Electric Eye, is that all Glenn? Because I always think like Glenn is the faster of the two. Is that right? I don't know. Nobody knows really. It's one of life's unknowable mysteries. That's Glenn. That's all Glenn? Okay. Cool. I think it's really sad with what he's dealing with. And, granted, everybody's dealing with something, but it blows. But I think it's great that he's been able to remain involved as much as he possibly can. It's interesting with like Richie Faulkner, who's guy's a great guitar player. He's and like I don't really go seek this sort of things out. Like who what's the current crop of metal guitarists and see if I can guess their influences. To me, Richie Faulkner sounds just like Zakk Wylde, and that's a blanket statement. And everybody's gonna be like, "You're fucking dumb." And okay, yes. But I do see a lot of similarities between the two, especially like picking hand stuff. And that's from the very, very, very small sample that I've had. So like, don't get mad at me. But like also seeing them live, stage presence wise, I think they're very similar. But anyway, great guitar player. What else? What do we have going on? So this past week, making a lot of trellis bodies, which is something that I'm always very happy to do. Also this week, it has been incredibly hot, especially inside the shop. The technically warehouse area is not air conditioned. And I have one of those like little temperature thermometer guns. It's funny now it's seeing this and giving you a thumbs up. Where we use it to check the temperature, like we got pot of pickup, check the temperature of the wax pot, kind of shoot the little gun at the laser and it, takes its temperature. I was taking temperatures of the walls in the shop yesterday. And I wish I didn't, because like yesterday afternoon when I was doing it, it was like 100 in the shop. And we've got a whole bunch of fans going. But it's just blowing really hot air. And I've reached out to the property manager because at one point, we were having this discussion and offhandedly she mentioned, the possibility of like climate controlling the warehouse. And we need to revisit that because that's hot. And I think that, when I was still in the garage, I think it's entirely possible that it would be hotter in the garage than in the shop, partially because, it's a smaller area. I don't know, lower ceiling, not a lot of room for things to circulate around. But then again, you'd think that it should probably be easier to keep cool. But like all I would know is that there was always like a 2 to 3 week period in the summer. And it was usually like July. So kind of almost right about now when I would have to start work earlier and usually around like 11 or so, 12 o'clock or so, I could feel myself getting dehydrated to the point where like my hands would just start doing this. I'm like, oh, okay. And like, I'm good about drinking water and staying hydrated and stuff like that. But, that's, obviously it's very hot, and usually around like 2 o'clock or so, I would have to stop, and I would come in the house and lay on the kitchen tile floor like Banksy, and I would look at him. I'm like, dude, I get it now. I get it. It is cooler. Any more plans to play with fire? So what Sean is referring to is there's a recent Stardust build that has been completed, and I hope to send it to its owner Monday, where the idea of pickup covers, like scorched metal pickup covers, so they kind of look like an oil slick. They're like all multicolored and stuff. And I'd never tried it before, but it's really simply just a case of taking a blowtorch to metal and like, I can get a blowtorch, right? Yeah, I can get a blowtorch. This isn't Russia. Is this Russia? No, not yet. So I got a blowtorch, and I did some testing, and I did find a way to kind of make some neat patterns that you could kind of, or it's not so much a pattern, it's kind of like a texture that I liked, and I'm like, oh, that's because I did that. So that was cool. So I scorched some covers. I do have like I've got like an extra bridge humbucker cover, but then I also scorched some pull pieces, the screws. And because I thought, we'll do the scorched covers and then the scorched pull pieces. And then as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, that's too matchy. So we need to have the contrast to my eye. So I've got some scorched pull pieces, which I think would probably look really cool in, since it's just the screws, not the slugs. Obviously we could do some pickups that are just all adjustable screws, but I think maybe if we took some black covers on the pickups and then did what is that? Did the scorched pull pieces, I think that would look pretty cool. So I don't have anything that's tied to an order, but I'm happy to do it again. I've got a 1500 series Floyd that's chrome that I could scorch. But then, and then you got to do the tuners. Cause that's like the one thing with like, Floyd does a really nice job. Like you can get like aged copper hardware, and you can, all kinds of stuff like that. But like sometimes you can't get like matching tuners. Specifically, like, let's say, like with the brand that you prefer, like we use hip shot locking tuners, and they don't offer that finish, but like Godo does. And do I really, I'm not betraying anybody by getting Godo tuners, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is what we use. I want to continue what we're using. Not because I think one is better than the other. It's just like, I need one less thing to worry about, or I don't need another thing that I have to focus on. You know what I mean? So yeah, but now that I know how to do it, I could get some tuners from my preferred vendor, and I could do a scorchy set of stuff. That would be cool. But like, I'm kind of wondering, like, would that be like too much? But I don't think it would. I'd like to pick your focal point and just have it be like one thing. But like, there is something to be said for tying something through a design. So as long as the rest of the guitar was not visually distracting, then that might work. But then, like, on the other hand, you don't want it to be like super boring. Like, you don't want it just to be, here's just a white guitar and then whatever. I don't know. But then maybe your mileage may vary. It just needs to kind of work. But no specific plans, but certainly open to do it again. All of that sounds very, that sounds like that makes sense. Blue Saraceno's really good. I mean, all those guys are really good, obviously. Let's see. See? Now that would kind of work, because with the sparkle, you've got those same colors that kind of continue through. So like that, I could maybe get on board with that. David, we're talking about the scorched humbucker covers on that black Stardust, and if there are any plans to do that again on other things. And so we were just kind of talking about that whole thing. And Joey had a lovely idea that it would probably work well with like a unicorn sparkle finish, because as I just said, you heard me. I was also just telling the people about how hot it was this last week in the shop. What is this? Or like a blue purple, yeah, color shift, that could work. Something like that. I almost want to have like white pickups. I don't know why. It's the first thing that pops in my head. So one thing that I had shared earlier this week or last week, I don't know. I have like zero concept of time. It's really very one thing. We do have some builds in process that nobody owns. So like there might be a body that doesn't have an owner. So like that build is not going to progress. Or there might be, we might have some necks. Like I know I've got like a 625 neck, which is like a 622, but for 24 frets. I've got that because like that was a neck that has a reverse headstock on it, which is by default, like if I'm imagining one of my guitars that is a 6-in-line headstock, it's got a reverse headstock on it. And there are times when, or if I'm going to make a Stardust, generally speaking, if in my brain I think of a Stardust that's got the 3.3 headstock on it. So sometimes I do kind of go on autopilot, sort of, if we're in the machining process, and then I find out that so we've got this Stardust neck shaft, it's got the wrong headstock. So all right, so let's put this aside and make what the nice person ordered, shall we? And that's when I say things like that, I'm not trying to say like I pay zero attention to things, but it's just like with all the stuff that we've got going, and I do have all of the specs. So it's like really, there's no reason that this should happen, but like it does, and I'm just doing my best, people. So that's to say that we do have some things that are kind of sort of in progress that don't have owners. So like, I don't know, if somebody's interested in a Carina Stardust, maybe hit me up. Anyway, we do also have a lot of, when I say a lot, like I don't mean like 30, but like we've got like a handful of like amazing quilt tops. I've got some walnut that's really nice. Some of it they're in dimensions that will limit the bodies that they can go on. Like I've got this ebony top that would only really work on like a 625, which is because like a Stardust is like a larger size and it's just too short for that. So I've got some really nice walnut that would work for like 625s. I think I do have one more like really nice flamed walnut top that would work for a Stardust. else? I've got this really killer ebony top. It's thick. It's like a 1/4 inch thick, and I don't know why my supplier that I got this from didn't just cut them into fretboard blanks, because it's just really nice black ebony, and it's been glued up and sitting. Gosh, definitely over a year, maybe 2 now. David, you know the top that I'm talking about. That's been there for probably at least as long as you've been here, which is coming up on 2 years, I think, right? Yeah. And my thought is, I've got this Stardust Deluxe that's ebony. With the top is ebony, the fretboard's ebony, the head plate and the truss rod cover are ebony. I thought it would be really cool to do that as a revolution. And, so this thing has been cut and glued for a V for almost maybe 2 years. And so, yeah, that was kind of, if anybody wants a revolution in that kind of configuration, maybe like a mahogany back, body back. I think I may have some flame roasted maple, or we can just do a mahogany neck. Although I think maple would be cool. Ebony head plate and fretboard, and just kind of like, so the whole front of it is just ebony. I think that would look, as David said, I think we would finish the guitar and then we would look at it and we would say, oh, gorgeous. So that's been something that I've been thinking of for a long time. Anybody wants a quilt top Concord? I've got some quilt tops that are wide enough for Concords. What do you mean wide enough? This is big. This goes way out here. And like, I've seen some builders that like do like figured tops on like an Explorer shape, and like the top isn't wide enough, so they graft a piece on here, and that is janky. So I want to try and avoid the jank. And so we do have some quilt tops that are wide enough for a Concord, much like the one that I had at NAMM last year. Speaking of, I do have a few ideas of what we're going to bring. And I think it's going to be a nice mix of fun, a little ratty, a little bit, do some, damn it, Sully style stuff. And then maybe some pretty, kind of like what we did last year. I am very, very excited about I'm excited about the ideas that we have fleshed out thus far. I'm excited about, but one of these guitars specifically is something that I've been trying to figure out for at least a decade. And I think we got it. So that is really something that I am excited about. I really want to blab it and make it available right now so people can order them, but I'm not going to. Yeah, I am really excited about it because I think it's gonna be cool. Quilt top Glamazon Gold Concord. Let's gold. Yeah, let's do it. Bonjour. Bonjour, monsieur, ça va? That's right. Team No Jank. Okay, moi aussi. Mark, did you just join us? Have you seen the most of the stream? I am going to the factory in a couple weeks. It's one of those things where I've wanted to go, and but it was always kind of like, well, I can do that tomorrow. And, you know, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, they're just about wrapped up with this shipment. Why don't you just go? 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 Just go. Just go. Is it easy to go? No. Is it cost effective? Is it affordable to go? No. But is it a good idea? Seems to be right now. So I'm going. And I'm looking forward to all of that. What else? Well, we're just about out of time today. Does anybody have any specific questions that you want me to talk about really quick? Those of you who are on the mailing list, there's going to be a little update going out next couple days. Christina Aguilera. That was the font that the name of the original Sully guitar's font was Pristina, that we joked, Christina Aguilera. This one, you want to see it? One thing that isn't super obvious about a Concorde, even when you're holding it, is that the top is arched. It's radiused. It's very slight, but if you look here, this is not as thick as this because it goes just a little bit. So yeah, this is what the Concorde 22, or for Sean McCloskey, the Concorde 23, is inspired in the most recent run. This was what inspired it. This one is a little different. This has a very old school Jackson tunematic bridge. And then these are the brass plates that I had made. I ordered some extra plates with the Conspiracy Series run, so we'll have some replacements, which I think will be cool, which will allow us to easily maybe make some more customs with the plates. Because as David can attest, I went through a lot of crap with these things, and they could have been better. They should have been better, specifically as it relates to the finish on them. Because like a lot of places, like plating places and stuff like that, they won't do brass because it involves clear coating, and that's what this means. This is the pattern you make with your hand. Just really exaggerated, like this is how you clear coat a guitar. No, it's not. But you know, it's tough to do. It's tough to do well. So a lot of places that offer brass plates will be like, it's polished, but it's raw, so it's gonna age. And you know, I found a plater that was local, and yeah, it did not go well, and I was charged way too much for them. And so the good news is we will have some plates that will allow us to do some in the future. One that I want to do is like, I want to do like a black one, or you know what, like maybe in this headstock color, because this, I know this looks black, it's really midnight blue. Maybe in that color, but like one thing that I do want to do is I want to do a couple of aged ones. I do have a few more of these Jackson bridges, which aesthetically I love the look, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the fanboy in me really loves it. The practicality of these are not great because the thumb wheels, they're just not quite big enough, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But you know, they look cool, and as we know, looking cool is really the most important thing, right? I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's that. No, you did not, but that will be happening in the next few weeks. So I've been me, you stay you. We'll do this again. Thanks for watching. See you later.